Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today we have another Mind Body episode. We have Tamara back. I interviewed her not that long ago regarding CRPS and her recovery. And today we have her back, but to talk about an intricate detail of mind body healing. We're going to be talking about meditation and how it can help, and also talk a little bit about anxiety and its relation to TMS and chronic pain. So, Tamara, thank you for coming on. And I'll go ahead and just let you take it away. Go ahead and share your experience about meditation with TMS and why you think it's helpful.
So I essentially meditated my way out of CRPS. As I was trying to heal from my CRPS condition, I tried many different things. So it's nearly impossible to isolate which one of those things really was the key. I do believe it was meditation. And I stumbled upon the meditation as one of the healing procedures because on one of the CRPS forums, I read a post. The person was saying that when they meditate, they feel better. And I decided, I was so desperate, I was ready to try just about anything. Short of jumping off the cliff. I wasn't ready yet for that one. And so I decided to give meditation a try. And it took me several months to learn how to do the meditation right. Because in the beginning, it actually was only making things worse. And many years ago, I actually tried meditation because I've been a yoga practitioner for many years. And at some point, if you do yoga, you naturally gravitate towards things like meditation. So I decided to go for a meditation class.
Mm-hmm.
And I lasted exactly for 3 or 4 minutes. And as embarrassing as it was, I very quietly crawled out of that class, trying not to disturb anybody, because I literally just could not handle doing nothing. And in the yoga practice, I was never good at Shavasana, which is a corpse pose where you lie on the floor without motion and try to relax. So I definitely...
What is that called again? Shavasana?
Shavasana.
Okay.
Shavasana or Savasana, depending how you pronounce it, is called also corpse pose, which is a pinnacle of the yoga practice. And it's only later I understood why. And the whole purpose of the yoga practice is to exhaust your body, exert your body to the point that it is ready for meditation, which Shavasana essentially is. But in yoga, Shavasana is usually very short, at least in Western yoga. It is 3 minutes, maybe 4, and then you move on. So I started trying to learn meditation. And in Western world, meditation is becoming a big fad. And there are all kinds of meditation teachers, meditation apps, meditation videos, meditation books, all kinds of things. So I tried a variety of them. And none of them really worked for me because my pain was actually getting worse. So what is meditation? And I would like to read a quote out of something that I found on the medical website.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty accurate definition of meditation. The practice of meditation originated in the ancient Vedic times of India and is described in ancient Vedic texts. Meditation is one of the modalities used in Ayurveda, science of life, the comprehensive natural healthcare system that is originated in the ancient Vedic times of India. The term meditation is now loosely used to refer to a large number of diverse techniques. According to Vedic science, the true purpose of meditation is to connect oneself to one's deep inner self. So in general, in our Western world, people understand it as a spiritual practice.
Okay.
And now let's go back to how Dr. Sarno defined chronic pain. Chronic pain, and I see you nodding your head, chronic pain is when you lose your inner self. It is a product of inner conflict that distresses your nervous system to the point that you end up with physical pain. So that's what chronic pain has to do with meditation. Very interesting, because pain management clinics, at least the one that I went to, usually teach it as a way to help people cope with pain. So what they say is that if you meditate 5-10 minutes a day, your pain is not as much. So it is easier for you to suffer through pain. So meditate to make it easier to get through the day. Mm-hmm. The radical diversion from what they teach you in pain management clinics is that meditation is essentially a key to healing your nervous system, recovering your own deep inner self, and getting rid of pain completely. So
you're making bold claims, Tamara.
Yes. This gets us to the next point. How often people with TMS suffer from anxiety? A lot of people complain that in addition to chronic pain, they have anxiety, depression, OCD, which OCD is one of the forms of anxiety.
100%
manifests itself in a very specific way, but it really is.
Yes, anxiety. I agree.
So also what I'm seeing a lot, people who discover Sarno, who start understanding that chronic pain is a result of some psychological trauma in their life, as they start feeling that their pain is receding, they report that their anxiety starts going through the roof. And they go, oh my God, why am I doing this if the only thing that I'm getting in exchange is increase in anxiety? And what I tell people is, remember how you got to chronic pain.
Yes.
It was your habitual suppression of your uncomfortable emotions, anxiety, that got you to chronic pain. So now you recovering from chronic pain, guess what? You stopped suppressing your anxiety. So now it is staring in your face.
Yes.
And what do? It's kind of connected vessels, right? Your pain goes down, anxiety goes up. So pick your poison. What are you going to leave us with, anxiety or with pain? And the answer is no. You don't have to live with either one or with both. You can live without both of them.
Come on.
If you learn how to deal with anxiety. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is an evolutionary mechanism that was given to us so we would not accidentally burn ourselves in the fire, fall off the cliff. It is there for us. It is the worry that is created so we would know how to deal with emergencies, with catastrophic events. So what is the difference? So anxiety is very related to fear. The difference, in my humble opinion, the difference between fear and anxiety is very simple. Fear is a fear of specific things. You are afraid of a tiger. Let's go back to our biological roots. We are animals, we're living in the jungle, and there is a tiger hiding in the forest. And we see the tiger, we immediately experience the fear. We jump, we run away, and then we relax and come back to our senses. Anxiety is a worry that helps us to avoid the situation in which a tiger will catch us. Anxiety is a worry that will help us to pick a place where we decide to set up for the night. Let's say find a place high up on the hill or in the cave or whatever. That unspecified fear, concern for potential emergency, that's what anxiety is. The book that really made deep impression on me, and I write about it in my book, is called Why Zebras Have No Ulcers, written by Robert Sapolsky, a biologist from Stanford University. So he explains that fight or flight concept in great details. And so he explains why in the modern world we actually end up with severe anxiety, because our modern world is full of stresses and there are no tigers, but there is potential loss of employment. There are maybe criminals. You live in an unsafe neighborhood. There could be fear of disease. There could be unpleasant situation at work. And so we end up constantly being in a state of worry. And that is anxiety. And what it does, zebras run away from tigers, and then they go back to their absolutely blissful existence, chewing on the grass. We never have that blissful existence because we're constantly worried. So meditation practice will help us to get our nervous system back into the blissful existence, to normalize. In my opinion, whatever is offered to general audience as a spiritual practice has to be done very differently for the TMS patients who suffer from very severe form of anxiety usually. So how the meditation should be different. By the way, Joseph, if you want to, if you ask any questions, if you have them.
Yeah, well,
feel free to interrupt.
I've had many questions, but like I didn't want to interrupt this flow that you had. It's so good. So I've been actually writing them down.
So go ahead, maybe just let's go through your questions, because I'm kind of getting down to the point how the meditation for people with severe anxiety should be different from people who look at it as a spiritual practice.
I agree 100%. Like, it's two different outcomes you're going for. There's two different reasons why you're doing it. And even just with pain, for example, like I oftentimes will treat my clients who have severe pain a little bit different than the clients who don't have as bad pain. Clients with severe pain, we got to kind of do a different approach because these people, it's really hard for them to be in their body, as opposed to maybe somebody who has less pain, they can tolerate a little bit more. So I get the your stance on that, but I want to go back to something. This one's just random off topic, but corpse pose in yoga, do they call it corpse pose because it's supposed to be symbolic of like ego death or something? I know nothing about yoga.
Oh, so corpse pose, you lie on your back, and there is this pretty famous book, Light on Yoga, written by one of the very prominent yogis who came from India to the United States and taught around the world. And so he rated yoga poses at different levels of difficulty. So corpse pose in his practice, and the book is full of photos of different poses that he twists himself in unimaginable pretzels. It's just scary to even look at them. But the highest point for difficulty is given to the corpse pose.
Why? See, that's what I'm wondering. Why is it like a ego
And
death thing? Like,
that's the key, because this is where you enter the state of nirvana. And
mm,
in my 20-some years of practicing yoga, I only entered that state of kind of out of a body experience. I can count those occasions on one hand,
wow.
maybe 3 times at most.
You said out of body or almost out of
Kind
body?
of almost out of a body experience. The sense that um, close to being in nirvana.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so if I say 3, it would probably be a stretch.
Okay.
It is very hard to achieve because you have thoughts constantly rolling through your head. No matter how hard you worked in your yoga practice, how hard you exerted yourself, it is still very hard to achieve. And
Okay.
so that's why it's rated at 60 points.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's getting all the blockages out of our mind, but that's the hardest thing to do, which
yeah.
is gonna go. It's gonna transition nicely into my next point about you couldn't handle doing nothing. So you said I couldn't do the other types of meditations, and you talked about this in your book. I read it because you can't handle doing nothing when you're in severe anxiety. You're very uptight. Um, I want to make a comment here and an observation. So I learned towards the end of my journey with CRPS that trying to fight the symptoms was a stupid thing to do. I used to do that when I first learned about TMS, and you know, it actually did work for certain symptoms. I did get certain, I used to say like, shut up, like body or pain, go away. Sometimes it would work. The CRPS would not budge that way. Actually, a lot of times it would get worse if I tried to fight it. So, you know, the 5 Fs, fighting is one of the 5 Fs. I dropped that and I learned that it's better to just let it be and let it burn out on its own. I can imagine that it's the same thing when we try and fight our anxiety. And that's also another reason why maybe some meditations for the really uptight person are more triggering because the meditations may be giving certain commands like relax, calm down, you know, and what it is it's like telling somebody when they're mad, hey, relax. What do you mean relax? Right?
Exactly. It definitely only exacerbates the problem. It makes it much worse. If you try to tell yourself, it's almost like you're being mean to yourself when you say, "Oh,
Mm,
come on, stop it. Don't be in pain." Well, you are in pain and you cannot stop it. It's not like you want to be in pain.
Mm.
So yes, what meditation does, and I wish I was a neuroscientist so I could explain in more detail, in more details, what is that microbiological level, how meditation really calms down the nervous system and brings it down a notch or two notches or many notches. But there have been numerous studies done, and they found out that people who meditate on a regular basis, including people with chronic pain, including people with anxiety and other mental health disorders, uh, their brain eventually becomes different. There is a physiological impact of meditation on the brain.
Excellent, excellent. I would guess, well, I do know about brain waves. I know that brain waves, you can change them if you can get into a different state of being through meditation. Um, the other thing that happens, I think, is just because you're getting in that habit of getting out of fight or flight via meditation, it's probably creating a habit of more flexibility as opposed to just always being in fight or flight. My idea anyway, just based on my all of my own research. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the whole pain down, anxiety up thing. And you explained anxiety, its function, and what it's our protector, right? I have found that it manifests in the behaviors of worrying, problem solving, and preparing, and it becomes an addiction. And when I'll open up to everybody, and I'll open up to you tomorrow. I know I shared with you that I had been going through like probably the worst flare in like years of anxiety. Pretty much when I got out of CRPS, I did have that increase in anxiety. I just did the acceptance model, like I accepted it, it burned out, and then that was that. But then what started happening is I was very reactive to my environment. So I was anxiety free, but I'd be living life, and some kind of trigger, because life is full of triggers, would come and get me right back into my habit of worrying, of problem solving, and preparing. And absolutely, you're right. OCD, anxiety, and possibly even ADHD. I know Gabor Mate um, speaks about ADHD. And Dr. Schubiner is actually an ADHD expert. I just found that out. I also think that it's very possible that these are also just manifestations of TMS, which is all it is a overprotective brain as a result of whatever it is, your trauma, your habit of repressing emotions, or your current worries and your stressors. So,
Or your predisposition,
or
your
your pre,
genetic predisposition. Remember, we are biological creatures, right? And humans used to live in groups. And when the whole group, and this is my theory, I can't really scientifically prove it, but I will say it anyway.
Mhm.
Somebody in the group had to keep the watch, right? So
Mm.
the group would sleep during the night. And guess what? Eventually, eventually these people evolved to have higher level of alertness. They don't sleep as well. They wake up. Their sleep is very shallow. And could it be that we are descendants of those people? We inherited their genes.
That's an excellent hypothesis. And anxiety and stuff, it runs in my family. So, and we know, epigenetics, it's real. Epigenetics is real. We know that even mothers who go through stress when the babies are in the womb, then those stress genes get turned on, and there's a disposition, like you said as well. So yeah, what I found was that now that the mask of pain was off, now I'm realizing how I can get into peace, but then I get triggered very easy. I can fall right back into those habits of worrying, problem solving. And then what even happens is like with OCD is like you worry about something, it resolves or whatever, and then you move on to the next worry. It's the symptom imperative, but it's a
Exactly.
psychological symptom imperative.
So anxiety is sort of a worry in search of a problem.
Yeah.
It latches, you get rid of the worry that, oh, I left, maybe I left the lights on when I left the house, or I left the
Yeah.
stove
Okay.
on when I left the house, and you go back to your house and you realize that the stove was turned off. Guess what? Your worry finds the next problem to worry about.
Right. And it can even be as simple as you leave and then 10 minutes later you go, "Oh shit, what about the lights on? Did I leave the lights on? Or shit, did I
Exactly.
lock the door? Did I lock?"
Exactly. So yeah, and it constantly rolls through your brain and continues to roll through your brain until it gets you to the point that you just collapse in exhaustion. So what meditation does, the key point of meditation is not to fight, as you
Mm,
said, not to fight all these thoughts. Let them come in and try to focus on your breath. Um, I find the focus on the breath, and really most of the meditation techniques recommend to focus on the breath because it's natural, it's intrinsic to you, and it's steady. And so because of that, it helps you to get away of that worry. Basically, let the worry pass through and you go back to your breath. The next worry comes in, and instead of fighting it, instead of being upset that you're worried again, instead of dwelling on it, and that's the hardest part, you just say, okay, I acknowledge you. Where's my breath? I
mm,
acknowledge you. Yeah, the tip water is on the stove. I acknowledge you, but I'm back to my breath. I know that you're fake. You're a fake worry. I don't need to dwell on you. Let me go back to my breath. Where's my breath? And that's
yeah.
really the foundational technique of the meditation. Um, any
Great.
emotion that comes in, acknowledge it and let it go.
So it's the same as the pain. So if you guys are watching this and the pain comes, you do the same thing, right? You just allow it. But if it's a thought, a worry, an emotion, you allow it, right? So it's essentially what it sounds like is facing your shit,
Yeah,
facing your facing what's inside of you already. Like it's there, it's not gonna go away, and you allow it. And yeah, and I'll have a video coming out soon on this, but I'm learning with all these things like the 5 F's. The only thing you have to fight is your habit of fighting. The only thing you have to fix is your habit of fixing. The only thing you need to be frustrated about is your habit of being frustrated all the time. So
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
paradoxical.
And anticipation of any kind of danger is often a lot more than the danger itself.
Mm,
Yeah.
right, right. Absolutely. Um, okay. So
So, should we go back to the things that I learned from my meditation experiences?
yes. Oh, yeah. I want to say one more thing. I remember your comment on TMS Wiki about how you said you didn't you didn't cure your CRPS until you started treating it like anxiety. Um, After you had CRPS, did you deal with things, or how about after and even now? Do you still consider yourself like a sensitive person,
Oh,
like prone to
absolutely.
worry, prone to obsession?
Absolutely. And if you don't do that, you can't walk away from who you are. We are who we are. We are people with a specific configuration of the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
We are warriors and we cannot change that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our nervous system is designed to respond to things instantly. It's very dynamic. It
Mm-hmm.
is responsive to the stresses, it's responsive to the potential dangers. That's who we are. And so we need to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a very interesting situation about 7 months ago. Last summer, I went on a very long hike,
Mm-hmm.
almost 3 week long hike in the mountains, and I was really worried about it, about safety, about potential weather dangers. What if I hurt myself? What if we lose the trail? All kinds of things. Guess what? My anxiety was at such a high level that at some point I started meditating and I just I could not meditate. I was so stressed. But guess what? I got on the trail and walking. If you walk 10 miles a day with a very heavy backpack, it's very meditative actually. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually all the worries went away. So
Excellent.
we have to live with a certain degree of emotional hygiene. If we don't do that, if we're no longer mindfulness after we get out of our pain, chronic pain, we will go right back to it.
Mm. Excellent nugget. Yeah, if we're not mindful, we don't have emotional hygiene, then we'll go right back to the pain. And I agree. That's why symptom imperative exists, right? That's why Dr. Sarno said you keep having symptom imperative. It's different when you're in the process of recovery and you're doing the right things and your brain's just trying to trick you. But if you keep having it like continuously, 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 it means there's something, your emotional hygiene's bad, period. That's what it means. It means you don't know how to cope.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so mindfulness, what is mindfulness? Really, meditation is really an exercise in mindfulness. Mindfulness is being aware of yourself
Mhm.
and your place in the surroundings, in the universe.
Mhm.
Being mindful of your body, being mindful of your mind, and being mindful of your environment, and to have a balanced view of your place in the environment. Because what
Mm.
gets us in trouble is when we start obsessing with ourselves, with our pains, with our worries, with our lives. Um, that's when we start sort of falling into that vortex of pain, worry, anxiety, depression. Um,
Mm.
when we start taking ourselves way too seriously.
Mm. Yes, taking yourself too serious. I love that. I love that. And this addiction to control is very real. Um, I didn't know how bad I was, like I said, until I got out of pain, and then I kind of realized it. Like when I got back to the real world, it's insane. I try and control everything, and that's not my place. Like you said, it's not your place in the universe. And when we accept our place in the universe, we suffer a lot less. Um, so I love everything you just shared. Emotional hygiene is key. Um, and mindfulness. And the thing is, like I've read Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. I think it's excellent. I think it's an amazing book about acceptance, and surrender. And a few books really come close to describing it the way that he does, and describing the ego, which is it's just your anxiety brain that's how I see it when I read about it. And when I've been able to practice what's in that book, pure bliss. I mean, I've had moments of pure bliss, like normalcy, no symptoms, no racing thoughts, nothing. But then the next trigger comes. And so if you don't know how to handle that next trigger, you're going to go right back, like you said, into that TMS state, or anxiety or depression or whatever. So you hit the nail right on the head, Tamara. Thank you.
You're welcome. But once you learn how to meditate, in order to heal, I had to meditate day after day for at least an hour, every day for at least an hour. And I worked with some people who were asking me, so, oh my God, do I have to do it for the rest of my life, an hour every day, an hour and a half? And I said, no, eventually, first of all, you will be pain-free. And then it will take you maybe 10, 15 minutes to get back into that peaceful state of mind where those jittery, your body is no longer jittery because of all these racing thoughts. You're no longer stressed to the point that you can't even control yourself. It takes 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes. You close your eyes, you calm down, and boom, you're right there.
I like that.
So, yeah, but going back to all the meditation apps and all the meditation books and these meditation apps that tell you, oh, you need to meditate 10 minutes. It's great to be more spiritual. It's great for people without severe anxiety. But for people who are in severe chronic pain, for people who have elevated levels of anxiety or OCD or depression, you have to get out of it by meditating at least an hour a day. And okay. At least. So there is one rule that I think is very, very important, and that is you have to figure out your own meditation rules. I tried all kinds of guided meditations, and none of them worked for me. And as a matter of fact, they were only increasing my anxiety. And so I ended up developing my own rules. So whether you do guided meditation or unguided, use any kind of music or chants or drum beats or whatever, I will not give you my opinion on that because it doesn't matter. It's up to you to go through maybe 20 different kinds of meditational music, which that's what I did, to find a set of 3 or 4 that you would choose for this day or that day. Or now, most of the time, I don't even need music. I'm okay without it. So I would not do guided meditation because I know that once I have to follow somebody else, guess what? I'm a perfectionist.
The defenses. Yeah.
Yeah. It immediately raises my anxiety level.
Yes.
Because what if I don't do the right thing? What if I don't follow the rules exactly to the T?
Or what if what they're saying is not, I can't trust this person, right?
Exactly. So that's kind of the most important thing. You have to find your own rules because you are unique, your condition is unique, your set of circumstances is unique. You have to find your own practice. And how you do it? Trial and error. You have to try. It took me probably at least 3 months before I figured out my practice. So next one, rule number 2, you have to make yourself comfortable. I remember in the beginning, I was trying to sit cross-legged, which is what they all tell you, you have to sit cross-legged. Well, if you have CRPS and dystonia and your joints no longer bend, sitting cross-legged is impossible and extremely painful. So I tried. Finally, guess what I did? I started sitting on the couch. This is what I'm doing in preparation for our little unguided guided meditation that I'm going to give as a sample. So you have to make yourself comfortable. If you want to lie down, lie down. If you want to sit on the couch, sit on the couch. If you want to stand, that's fine too. Have in mind that walking, running, swimming, any kind of repetitive rhythmic motion can be very meditative. So if running is doing that for you, go run.
Okay.
If swimming is doing it for you, just go swim. Just make sure that you spend sufficient
About
time
an hour, yeah.
to get into that flow of mind where racing thoughts are gone. So that's really making yourself comfortable.
And by you say gone, tell me if I'm correct. You're saying allow them and let them pass until they stop.
They wouldn't stop, but
Okay.
the response that you have in your head is very different. They no longer feel like a rock that is thrown into the water and makes a splash in you. They feel like like a little feather touch the surface of the water, and that's it.
Okay. So then until you notice that, until your response is not adding more fear or worry to those thoughts, until you get into that state to where you can actually allow these things.
Yeah.
And you found that an hour is about the correct amount of time so that happens. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
So next rule, make sure that when you start meditating, you allocate a much longer time than you think you will meditate. If you're planning to meditate, hoping, not planning, do not plan, hoping to meditate for an hour, make sure that you have extra 30 minutes at the tail end of it so you don't have to worry about being late anywhere.
Yeah, so get rid of the time pressure.
I've done that to myself many times and it ruined my meditation. Next rule, do not have any expectations. There is no such thing as bad meditation practice. Whatever time you spend with yourself, even if you get up and you still have racing thoughts, you made that small step towards the nirvana. You just don't know it yet.
Okay, so how about if somebody sits down and then they're worrying the whole time?
That's okay, because what you're doing, you're really training yourself for the next day when you're going to sit down and it will actually work. It will eventually click. It's like practicing for any kind of a skill, right? When you're training for anything and it doesn't work first time, second time, third time, but each time your brain somehow develops that neural path to doing it right. So
so we need to be compassionate with ourselves as we're building up these skills.
Exactly. Like every skill, meditation takes time to develop. So and even after years of doing meditation, I still have days when I sit down for meditation and I get up and it doesn't feel like, it did something for me. But before it was 90% it didn't do anything for me. Now it is 90%, it does something that I immediately feel.
Okay.
However, in my case, the healing result of meditation, like reduction in pain or a reduction in dystonia, because my biggest problem was dystonia, much more than pain. Pain by itself was terrible, but dystonia took much longer. I did not see any improvements until next day. For some reason, the day after a long meditation practice, I would feel a little better. So don't expect immediate results in terms of pain. You may feel immediately that racing thoughts are gone, but pain and whatever are the symptoms you have, it may be a while before they go away.
Okay.
The next one is, don't worry about the process itself. Focus on the goal. And your goal is to get rid of anxious thoughts. Not anxious thoughts, but anxious reactions to your thoughts.
Okay. Yes.
Get rid of racing mind, of jitters in your body, which you get when your mind starts racing. What your goal is. It
It's
might
not like
take you,
becoming indifferent to
right.
the negative thoughts or the pain.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Let's say some meditation techniques tell you count your breaths 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Guess what? I could never stay with 1, 2, 3, 4. I get to 3 and then I go, oh, did I count 2 or not? Don't do that to yourself. The only thing that you need to have is just go back to your breath. That's it. That's it. That's the only procedural thing that you need to do.
Okay.
Sounds a little contradictory, but to what I just said, but routine is extremely important. And you have to create a routine. When I do my demonstration, you will see my little blanket that I'm showing. You know how toddlers, they love their blankets and they walk around with the blankets?
Yes.
It's only now that I understand what it does. It's the sense of safety, comfort, and warm love that you experience. So guess what? When I meditate, I just put that blanket over myself. It doesn't have to be a blanket. It could be the same chair. It could be a plant that you put in front of you and it immediately starts the healing process with you. It could be a place at your house, could be a garden that you go to. It could be running on the same trail every day, every time that you need to meditate, swimming in the same water. It's kind of a routine that you create for yourself, and it is yours and yours only.
I love that. And I think that keeps it one, I think with tools we got to be careful with them becoming like compulsions, like we kind of do them compulsively. So routine will help with that as well. So like, because we don't want it like, oh, if you're anxious and you're at a meeting or something, oh, I need to go to my car and meditate, like I need to flee the
Yeah.
meeting. So routine I think is good for that, to keep it from becoming that.
Yeah.
And also setting the time aside as well.
Yeah. And, I used to laugh at aromatherapy. I now understand how using the same scent for your meditation practice, if you have scents that you love, just use that.
Great.
Okay. And then I already talked about the breath. That's your balance. That's your guardrail. This is what will bring you into stability.
So that's your anchor, just something you go
That's
back
your
to.
anchor.
Okay.
That's what you need to go back to, no matter what disturbance is. Let's say there is noise outside, the light all of a sudden, you lost power, the lights went off. It doesn't matter. You go back to your breath. And then a little trick that I discovered later in my practice, in the months of my practice, once you learn how to slowly, very, very gradually slow down your breath, apparently it really makes an amazing impact. If you learn how to stretch out your breathing in and breathing out, make it slower, not by force, but just a little bit, somehow it really makes a very calming impression on me. I don't know, for some reason it really
Okay.
calms me down.
Breath is the anchor, and slowing it can help. I would say though, sometimes when I've tried to meditate in the past, maybe I was trying too hard, but trying to slow my breath created more anxiety.
And this takes us to the one and very, very important rule. Somewhere I read that you have to meditate at least 20 minutes. And it took me a while to understand why. And as I started meditating, and it wasn't just a sitting meditation that I did running, I did swimming. I realized that about 10 to 20 minutes into my practice or my yoga practice, any kind of meditative activity, I start experiencing rise in anxiety. And I compare it to a surfer breaking through the surf.
Good.
You have to get through it. You have to stick through it, because once you get through that 5-10 minutes of really rising anxiety, you're out in quiet waters. You're in it. That's when you get into the healing portion of meditation. And it took me a long time to figure it out, because once I get to that 15-20 minutes, all of a sudden, oh, I have to get up. Oh, I'm too cold. I need a jacket. Oh, I need to answer that email. Oh, somebody
The
must.
defenses.
Yes. So all these racing thoughts, they start coming. The anxiety becomes unbearable. Guess what? You go to your breath. You tell your anxiety, I recognize you. Pal, you have to wait until I'm done with this. You go back to your breath, and you keep going to your breath, and you try to slow it down, because it really helps. And then a couple minutes go by, and you are in that steady state of mind. And now you are truly meditating. And that's it. That's
That's
my
it.
list of rules.
And
Yes,
that's excellent. And I learned that important point to make. Just because your anxiety goes up doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. I learned that from Dr. Claire Weeks. You ride the wave. When if you're in pain, you go take a walk, your pain's going to increase because you've never showed your brain that this is safe. And I think if we're doing this with pain, it's going to be that. So maybe your pain gets really high when you're at that point. Or if you're dealing with racing thoughts and anxiety, maybe that goes really high right before extinction burst, right?
exactly.
Extinction burst. Yep. Well studied in psychology, before anything psychological is going to give up, it's actually going to increase at first. And then
Exactly.
it's going to
Yep.
go down. So I totally
Yep.
understand that. Ride the wave, let it be, let those thoughts come. And you know what, if you have pain and you're getting those thoughts, maybe take that as a celebration, because that's what the pain has been protecting you from. So facing that is going to show your brain that you don't need symptoms to protect you, because you have good emotional hygiene and you can handle it.
Yeah.
So excellent, Tamara. if you're done explaining, we can do a sample if you're ready.
Right. So why don't we do this? I'm gonna put down my computer, so I will
You
be
made like
yeah.
15 minutes, 20 minutes.
It will probably be 15 minutes or so.
Let's do 15.
Yes, because we've already been talking for like almost an hour.
Well, who knew the explanation? I didn't actually expect the explanation to be so long, but there was nothing you said that we could have left out. Everything needed to be covered. So
I think it is important for people to understand why they're doing meditation before they actually start doing it, because it took me trial and error for a very long time to get to a point. So this is how I do meditation. I sit on my couch. If I'm not running or swimming, that's a different story. I sit on my couch. I put two pillows under my left elbow and my right elbow, and my blanket. I do not meditate without my blanket. So the gurus of meditation tell you that you need to meditate with your eyes open, but that's for the people whose skills are superior. Those are the ones who meditate and then they can walk on water, on fire, I don't know, swallow knives, all kinds of things, but we're not there. So I close my eyes, I rest my arms on the pillows, I lean back, and I start focusing on my breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And in the beginning, I focus my mind on my belly, the center, the what they call in yoga practice, they call them chakras. In Chinese medicine, it is called dantian, that area near your navel, below your navel, inside your navel, where your center, your earth, your emotions reside. And I'm just looking inside. You know, that navel gazing thing that brings you into balance. I think about it, and I think that this is that warm place inside myself that keeps me balanced. And as I'm breathing, I'm following my breath in all the way to my center and out. In and out. And as we go through this exercise, you will hear my guidance less and less, because I want this to be your practice. You breathing in and out. In and out. And as the thoughts enter your mind, you let them be. They come in and they go. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, You notice them. And
Right
let
now, I'm feeling tension in my head.
breathing in and out. And as you breathe, try to pay attention to your breath. Is it warm? Is it steady? Follow the air as it goes from your throat into your diaphragm and way down into your belly, into the center of you, into your anchor, into the place that holds who you are. Breathing in and breathing out. And now start very slowly, open your attention to what is going in your body besides your breath. Maybe moving your hands, your feet, open your eyes. Notice the world around you. Does it feel any different? For the sake of time, we only did it for 15 minutes. Do you have any observations?
The thoughts are just like it was one thing after another. I was in like kind of like a type of freeze mode. I could feel when I'm in freeze mode in my mind, and it took me down a notch. Like it definitely, like the defense came down a little bit. It was interesting though, because, and this is something I've experienced before, when the notch came down, it came right back up. It's like my mind felt that and was like, nope, we're going back up. I've actually felt that with alcohol before. I've drank alcohol before, and right when I'm calming down, my nervous system resisted. Dr. Sarno used to talk, he said that he had a patient that would come home and she would get pain after she'd try and relax and have a drink. So I figured that something like that was going on. Other than that, feel a little more loose. Yeah, those were my observations. But the thoughts, that was the biggest thing. And I caught myself engaging with them, and I had to stop. And I caught myself engaging with them, and I said, oh, you're engaging. Stop engaging. Let it be.
How easy was it for you to go back to your breath and focus on your breath and just go back to it?
It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. I think yeah, it is pretty easy. It was pretty easy. I would say if I kind of have experience already, like, I'm a student of like Dr. Claire Weeks. I have some experience with allowing thoughts and like not engaging with them. But I think if I didn't, this meditation would have been a lot harder, a lot harder. Yeah. To sit through.
So, did you feel any rise in anxiety after a while?
Yes, right when that notch went down and then went right back up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is very common, and this is also common for people who start working on their chronic pain. It's the extinction burst that comes to you. It just happens. But in this case, it's all compressed within the meditation practice. Sort of, it's a microcosm of what you're dealing with in your entire journey of healing from chronic pain. It's getting in, feeling a little bit of relief, extinction burst, trying to make your way through it, and then eventually you getting into the healing.
So good. So good.
And how the pain, that's how it was for me. It would lift for a minute and then it comes back. And in a few days later, it would lift for another minute and then it comes back. And you just have to continue doing what you're doing. And then eventually you are like a surfer who gets through the surf break.
Yeah, I love that. You're like, you just kind of have to just stay stand your ground as far as go back to the anchor. Go
Yep.
back to the anchor and just whatever's coming, take it, tolerate it, ride it.
Right away.
I like ride because it's like it makes you feel like you're like on top of it and you're just like riding it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm excited to implement this as a part of emotional hygiene. You know, for me, I deal with mostly a lot of psychological stuff right now. So also I did have a few zaps of pain here and there, but I'm like so indifferent to that now. I barely remembered right now, but the thoughts got faster and faster and faster and faster the longer we got into the meditation. And then it got to a point where it dropped, but then it came back up again. And so I think what you said about an hour is good. I'm very curious to try it out because if that's what I got, if that's where I got in 15 minutes, I already got it to kind of like trigger and come up and rise up. You know, if I'm there for an hour, who knows? Maybe I can feel what it feels like for it to go all the way up and then all the way down.
So this is what I suggest we could do. You can practice for the benefit of the viewers. We can take a break. You can just try to practice, and when we schedule a follow-up, and then you can stitch the two videos together and we can discuss your experience, because it's hard for me to describe my experience because I've been doing it long enough. I may not even remember my original struggles. I literally had to reread my book before our session to kind of bring the memories back.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to really get your observations for the benefit of the viewers, so they would understand what they have to get through in order to succeed.
You know what? I like that. So you're saying practice on my own and then we schedule something, come back and discuss. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
I think that's excellent. I think yeah, let's definitely do it.
And if I may add, I don't think, going back to my state of mind when I was in the at the peak of my anxieties, I don't think I was capable of being a spiritual being at that time. It makes it possible once you get out of it. And I noticed that now I'm a better person, really. It is easier for me to be kind to others now that I learned how to be kinder to myself.
Yes. Right. The scripture says forgive and you'll be forgiven, right?
Yep.
Oftentimes we're very hard on others. It's because we're hard on ourselves and vice versa. When we're kind to others, we're usually kind to ourselves. Sometimes TMS people, they're kinder to others than themselves. But you gotta work on being kind to yourself. So yeah, a great
Yes.
comment.
Yes. Kristen Neff, the woman who studied self-compassion. She has an amazing book that really helped me a lot.
Excellent. I love her work as well.
Yep.
Well, Tamara, if you don't have any last comments, we'll cut this off.
No, I actually have a hard stop in a minute.
All
So
right.
maybe when we reconvene, and it's really your choice, maybe you need a week to practice, maybe 10 days to practice. So reach out to me and we'll find the maybe 30 minutes to have a follow-up. I think it is very important for people to really hear from you how it works for you.
Excellent. Well, I'll get back to you on that. Don't worry about responding to that urgently. Go do what you got to do. Thank you so much for today, and I will see you next time.
You're welcome. Yeah, always great talking to you.